Have you ever sat in a corporate training session and felt slightly insulted? Maybe the instructor was speaking to you slowly or over-explaining simple concepts. Probably you felt like you were back in high school. Well, that feeling corresponds to the friction between teaching children, way more common, and andragogy, teaching adults. Your learners may be highly skilled, they are experts. If you treat them more like colleagues than students, they are more likely to engage. In this video, I'm going to introduce Module 1 of the Train the Trainer's Toolkit to answer one question. How do you teach someone who might know way more than you about certain topics? Let's start with a nightmare scenario. You are online, you just finished explaining a complex technical protocol, you stop and ask, "Are there any questions?" And then, silence. Absolute silence. You wait for 5 seconds, 10 seconds, it feels like an eternity. What is happening behind those black screens? If this were a classroom of kids, silence usually means they didn't understand or they are simply distracted or shy. But with adults, silence could be different. Maybe they're afraid of looking incompetent in front of their peers. Maybe they think their question was rhetorical. Or maybe, and this hurts, they are checking their emails because they don't see the immediate value of what you just said. In Module 1, we discussed the safe environment. As a trainer, your first task before transmitting data is to break that silence without forcing it. Here is the core difference described in Module 1. Teaching a child is different, since it has less experience than an adult, and new concepts must fit into a less complex representation of the world than adults want. If you don't want to use an oversimplified metaphor of a blank sheet of paper, we can say that a young student is like a book with few underlines and a few glosses. An adult has undergone many more pencil strokes and highlighter strokes, more erasures, many more notes, and many more summaries. Adult learners come to you with prior knowledge. This is why experience is a double-edged sword. It's their greatest resource, but it also acts as a filter. They will have prejudices too. They will constantly compare what you say with what they already know. They will have a prejudice too. So, your job is not to ignore their past, but to acknowledge it before adding new information. This brings us to the concept of the supporting environment, which we discussed in Module 1. A supporting environment isn't just about being polite. It means creating a space where these experts feel safe to admit they don't know something. How do you make an expert feel safe enough to ask a stupid question? You cannot just say, "Feel free to ask." You have to lead by example. So you could admit a mistake first, showing your own vulnerability and removing the pressure of perfection, or your signal that is a space for learning, not for performing. But a supporting environment is not only a safe environment, it's also stimulating. Adults have a deep need to be self-directing. They demand being treated as independent. This connects to motivation. In the handbook, we distinguish between extrinsic and intrinsic motivation, but practically, it all comes down to one question your learners are asking themselves: why do I need this right now? If you're teaching a new procedure, you may start with the definition. However, you could also start with a problem that can be solved by the procedure. Show them the value immediately. If they see the why, they will listen to the how. Remember, we started with a problem, how to deal with silent Zoom calls. I briefly introduced some concepts that answer the question: a supportive environment, prior experience, and motivation. If I master these theoretical concepts, I will be able to present them more smoothly during the lesson, integrating them into a hook activity instead of following a traditional lesson plan. So, let's go back to our Zoom call where no one seems interested or willing to participate. I want this to be a fruitful example with a dual purpose. One, to present some content from the first module from the Train the Trainer's Toolkit as a teaser of the course. Two, to show you how to use a well-comprehensive pre-written ready-made presentation and adapt it, personalize it. In the previous video, I introduced the situation of handling a silent audience. Then, in this video, I focused on one characteristic of the participants, being adult learners, and I touched on the following concepts. the prior experience as a key factor of the learner, the relevance of a supportive environment, and the clear usefulness, the why, as a source of motivation. I hope this will make reading the first module less daunting, because then you already know where it's going. That's precisely the point of knowing the usefulness of what we're learning. If this encourages you to read the first module, then this video has been an effective teaser. So, as for the customized use of a preset presentation, I will now try to describe the logic behind the choice of the Zoom call example and how I would implement it in practice. Knowing the contents of the first module and also in general of the entire course, we need to have a comprehensive view. Identify an objective. The trainer will have to recognize the fundamental characteristics of an adult learner and will be able to manage the adult learner's participation during a live remote lesson. I try to think an activity that allows me to realize an objective in a way that can be useful or stimulating, more accessible. A real case scenario is a possible solution. The Zoom call example comes to mind because it's a scenario I might encounter. It's immediately useful, but it's also a gimmick to discuss the key concepts and contents of the course. Now I can add more slides. Note that these slides are customized, not slides from the ready-made Train the Trainer handbook, because anyone designing a complete course can't possibly know that today someone else will think of this scenario as a hook for the class. So, to wrap up the topic of managing the class, here's a 3-step checklist to remember before you start speaking. 1. Validate the experience. Like, I know you're experts in this, and maybe in your lifetime you have already seen this, and so on. 2. Create context. We need this to solve this problem. There's something scientists cannot understand yet. I found a paper that talks about, I don't know, be creative. 3. Provoke debate. Don't ask, did you understand? Ask, do you agree with this approach based on your experience? By example. Surely, if I were to talk about this topic in class, I wouldn't show this slide before opening the discussion. A good discussion, however, should generate many insights, and at the end of the discussion, this slide will be shown as a summary. Remember, these concepts, andragogy, safe environment, motivation, are deeply analyzed in Module 1. For further information, please refer to the handbook. Find more strategies and try to adapt them for your contents. See you in video 3.